Hi, it's Natasha Penzo from the Penzo family of companies. Today we are sitting down with Arlene Karram from Safebridge Financial. With the recent pronouncement of interest rate hikes, we've had a lot of questions from clients about how that might affect the market and what advice we could give them. So we wanted to sit down with Arlene to get her expert advice on mortgages and all things for financing your home in this expensive city that we live in.
I think it's actually more than just interest rate. There's actually a number of things that are going on in the market today. If I were to say, I think there's three main factors that are involved. One is we have very low supply. So we have a huge demand for housing here in Toronto, but our supply is extremely low, has been low. And I always say they're not making more land. So we're going to continue to have supply issues. The second thing is definitely a low interest rate environment, and I'll touch on that. But the third thing is also immigration. So immigration actually slowed down. In 2020, we had 380,000 people welcome to Canada. And that number slowed down through the pandemic, but is projected to pick up and increase to over 400,000 people per year on an ongoing basis. So those things are all putting upward pressure on the housing market and has made it very difficult for people to finance their properties here in Toronto.
Okay, thanks, Arlene. So based on what you just touched on, it sounds like there's a few factors at play here. Can you touch more upon the interest rate?
Yeah, absolutely. So the interest rate piece is it's a very sexy news piece. People always want to know what's happening with the interest rates. And the reality is that since the beginning of the pandemic, interest rates have been artificially suppressed for a number of reasons. And I'm not an economist, so I won't get too in depth on that. But the reality is that because interest rates have been lower for a substantial amount of time, people's buying power has increased because they now can afford to buy more home than they previously could. So I think that's one factor that's also driving up price. So the low interest rate environment has driven the prices up. The other thing with interest rates is that we know they will go up, and people are asking, like, when are they going up? The reality is they've already gone up. So we've seen the fixed rates go up in the last few months. The variable rates remain pretty consistent, but we do know that the variable rate will go up. And so it's not an if, but a when. I think the bigger question to ask yourself is, am I buying too much house? Am I buying a house I can't afford? That's a question we get asked a lot. And I think it's important for clients to understand, or home buyers to understand, that when you go to purchase a home, in the financing process, we put you through the stress test. So the stress test was put in place to ensure that you are not getting into hot water with your mortgage, and to make sure that if the interest rates do go up, can you afford to pay your monthly mortgage payments? So the old stress test was 4.79%. As of June of 2021, the stress test went up to 5.25%. So that increase is substantially higher, and that is put in place, again, to safeguard the consumer. With first-time homebuyers, one of the things I've been encouraging a lot of people to do is to see if you can get any money gifted to you from your parents. You don't need the money when you're 50 and, well into your career. You need the money when you're young and trying to buy a home. And so for clients that are, maybe they have a steady income, but they don't have a sizable down payment, I try to remind them that they can use gifted money for that down payment. And that can come from a parent, sometimes a sibling, but lenders will accept a gift.
So Arlene, I really like how you touched on the gifting aspect, whether it's from a parent or potentially a sibling. We have clients who are ready for their next move and they're maybe just falling a little bit short. So I think that's a great piece of advice. Well, it's been such a pleasure to sit down with you. Very informative. I know our clients will get a lot out of it. So thank you for taking the time.
You're most welcome.